You're good to go. We're ready anytime, Jeff.
Okay, you guys hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. We got a quorum?
Yes.
We do? Awesome. Sorry, a little late for it here. Well, first of all, sorry I missed last week. It sounded like we had a great meeting. Really want to thank Troy and Carolyn for their presentations. That was really nice. And I'm sorry to hear about Bill Clemens retiring, but I'm happy for him too. So let's see here. We can call this meeting to order. And is Kelly here?
Are you taking roll?
Yes, I'll take roll call.
Okay.
Get my glasses. Hold on. Kelly Lean.
Present.
Doug Case.
Here.
Kyle Tarbert.
I'm present.
And Bruce Moorhead.
Present.
All right. I think we have everybody
Yeah.
here. Any guests this evening?
Jennifer Fuchs is also here. The
Oh,
only
yes, Jennifer.
The only commissioner we're missing is the new commissioner, Christopher Murray, is not yet with us.
Oh, good.
I was expecting him, so he may just hop in a little bit late.
All right, great. We found somebody right away. Excellent. Okay, we need to do what is it now? We need to approve the agenda, which includes the minutes from March, the agenda for tonight, and any excused absences. So Kelly, you want to make a motion to that?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for March and the agenda for April.
Second. I'll second.
All in favor? Say aye.
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 That's everybody, no opposed. Okay, let's dig right in, guys. It looks like first thing on the agenda is the bird scooter. Is that correct, Mike?
Yeah.
All right, let's dig right into that.
Yep. So yeah, sharing this with you all. So there's a company called Bird, and they have electronic scooters. You can use them by downloading an app on your iPhone or other electronic device, and it basically charges per mile. And they're basically looking at expanding in Eastern Washington and Oregon. So locally, the city of Hermiston is already using Bird scooters. Right now, it's also going through city of Pendleton, Oregon, and then city of Walla Walla as well. We're moving a little quicker in city of Walla Walla, but that's fine. Difference is that with this one, even let's say if Walla Walla for some reason didn't allow them in, they would still serve our market at least, because as you recall, a couple of years ago, we tried to get in Lime Bike, and then it got caught up in a process over in Walla Walla. But but they're willing to come in regardless. Other thing is that they would essentially put these scooters scatter the key areas around the community, and they look to us for input as to where they would go. They can track them via GPS, so there really isn't a threat of them getting lost. Also, the company would not keep them out constantly, so they would take them in every night around 10 p.m. and they would charge them and then put them back out on the street around like 6 p.m. or so. And then in the winter, when the weather's really bad, they'd take them in naturally. But yeah, this is MOU just to operate here in the city of College Place. We had this go through the city attorney. She was okay with it. There just needed to be some minor language as far as insurance, and Bird made those requested changes. This is going through several advisory commissions, since this does have an impact really at everyone. So Youth Advisory Board, they seem very supportive of this, as did the Park Arbor and Recreation Board. So really, I'm here for any questions, but otherwise, yeah, looking for a recommendation on this, so this could proceed onward to council.
So how many do you think they're gonna be bringing to our area?
50 initially.
50,
Yeah.
okay.
So what if somebody took them, say, into Walla Walla city limits? How does that affect anything?
So, so again, these can be tracked by GPS, and the scooters themselves. So there's an operational GIS boundary we gave them, which is like the boundary of the city. And hypothetically, if as soon as they would pass that boundary, I mean, you could move it since they had like tires, but the electronic component would turn off. Now, one of the things that I've done with Nabil that we have an understanding to is that at least for some of the uses right up against the border, I gave Bird an amended boundary that would include like the town center and then like Petco and Big Five, because that really wouldn't make any sense if someone was out on their scooter just because you have a business on the other side of just on the other side of Myra that would turn off and you're stuck. So they seem to be amenable to that, at least us having the limits cover those immediately abutting uses. I do suspect that this is going to pass City of Walla Walla as well. I have no reason to think it would not. It's just we'll be quicker to the punch.
Once Walla Walla does pass it, the boundary thing would be turned off.
Yeah. Once Walla Walla would pass it within the operational network for Bird, it would in essence merge the two boundaries, and that would no longer be an issue. You then could just drive fully between all of the two communities.
Are helmets required?
The helmets, that yeah, they are required. That is within the operational usage of that when you download the app.
Good questions. So you're looking for an okay from this committee, Mike?
Yeah, I'm looking for a recommendation that you're okay with it, since I mean a number of these Bird scooters are likely going to be put around Meadowbrook and College Avenue and other areas. So I want to make sure you're good with it. And then it's going to go to City Council if you recommend it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go for recommending it. Kelly, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we recommend the Bird Scooter Company.
I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. All opposed? Nope. Okay, Mike. Looks good for us.
Great, thank you. The next document, this is just like an advisory document about discussion principles. So as you all know, we have like a diversity and inclusion advisory board that meets quarterly, and they just wanted to have like a little document about like principles about discussion of inclusion and so forth. This is something a diversity board's coming up with to help like guide and advise discussions at their board level. But what they asked is that this be run through our other advisory boards, just if they had any concerns or if they were okay with it. So I presented this the last ed tech meeting. Is just an advisory item. If you're good with it, then if you could all recommend it. That's really what this is.
Well, it looks
Alright.
good to me.
Yeah, it looks pretty good to me. It looks pretty standard
Mm-hmm.
stuff here for that. Good guidelines, principles. Okay, Kelly, you want to make a motion to that?
Yes, I would like to make a motion that we approve the document of the diversity and inclusion principles document.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? All right, I think we're good, Mike.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, now we're getting to the report section of the meeting. So the first part is the Blue Zones report. So I wanted to make sure that you all had this, since Megan DeBolt and her team, they're working aggressively on getting the blueprint out for the Blue Zones. And as you all may recall, this is like a community health initiative where what they're trying to do is mimic best practices from communities across the world that have like the longest livelihoods and lives due to essentially how they live. So yeah, looking at establishing that framework in key areas, including our area. So it includes Walla Walla and College Place. So there have been specific work groups established around from what I'm hearing, grocery stores, faith-based, community policy, built environment, food policy, tobacco policy, and then individual engagement. I've been involved in some of the food policy work, just looking at promoting the farmers markets and so forth. And then the built environment I've been involved in as well. And really what they're going to be helping us with is continuing to encourage that as we reconstruct roadways, they have that complete street ethos. So that's where it's multimodal with pedestrians, with sidewalks, bicyclists, and then cars, and then public transit. So the 4 Bikes project over on 4th and Academy Way is a good example of this. The other thing they're going to be trying to help us with is to try to land some grant money to get our sidewalk gaps fixed. Because as you may know, in the center of College Place, plenty of our side streets have no sidewalks on either side. And just to put it in perspective, through this work, we did a little bit of an initial sidewalk gap inventory, and just to make it where we fill in the gaps for the streets that lack sidewalks on both sides. So when we put sidewalk on one side, that amounts to over 52,000 feet of sidewalk needed. And the cost on that across the whole community would be around $6 million. So So that just goes to show that the gap that exists with the amount of streets that don't have sidewalks on either side. And keep in mind, this isn't dealing with rebuilding streets. This is dealing with building a sidewalk on one side of the road with ADA ramps at the key intersections. So they're going to be helping us with this. This is going to be going over the next 3 years. One of the initial outreach events I will be working with them on, and I'm sure they'll be involving all of us, is they're going to be doing movies at the park in June that they will run over at Lions Park, and they'll have a similar event over at City of Walla Walla. And then they'll be just looking at essentially adding to our programming at community events as they get their feet on the ground. So I just want to make sure you had this discovery report.
I wanted to note that Commissioner Murray has joined us.
Oh, hey, Chris.
You are muted if you're speaking to us.
I know I lost you there for a second. Welcome, sir.
So does anyone have questions about the Blue Zones report or basically anything with that initiative moving forward?
Well, let me set my mood. Well, Mike, I will say that Vicky Zanes is coordinating with the Blue Zones project for the grocery store stuff. So Andy's Market's certainly involved with that.
Cool. Okay, well, if I don't hear any additional questions on that one, we'll move onward to College Place Farmers and Artisans Market. I'll turn it over to Lisa. The one thing I want to know, in case you are all aren't aware of it, is Carolyn Holm, who in the past year has run the market. She's moved on to other employment, so we are working on filling that position, but in the interim, Lisa's trying to wear many hats here. So with that, I'll turn it over to Lisa.
Yep, currently putting on the old hat again, but we've got one more interview tomorrow. Things are looking promising. We've got some good prospects. So anyway, farmers market's going to be very, very similar to what it was last season. The restrictions are really close to the same. A little bit, the main difference is going to be that we are allowed to have live entertainment. So we do have, Carolyn already had pretty much all of the dates filled with live music. So we will have live music. There's some restrictions on distance with them and things like that, but that is the main difference. She had started, and we're going to continue working with the Blue Zone people to hopefully be able to have some food demonstrations with their team doing some healthy cooking demonstrations, things of that nature. Any questions? Or as it gets,
so they are,
we'll have more details.
nice. Hey, Lisa.
Yes.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Finally figured out how to work this thing. How y'all doing? So, as far as like restrictions on the farmers market, so we are able to do bands and things like that. Are you still having to do the same restrictions as like last year with all the barriers and everything?
Yes.
Okay. So, all right. Well, cool.
The layout will be very similar, and we have to have the live entertainment at least 20 feet away from audience or
Okay.
the other people. But
Nice. All
they'll
right.
still
That'll
be
be good. Sweet. That'll be good. I'll bring in a few more people. I think that'll really help, because I realized last year, I mean, we were busy. Murray's was, but I know even during everything, but I noticed that whenever we had bands there, it seemed like a lot more people came out. So yeah, so that'll be awesome.
There's no other
That's all I got.
questions. Do you want me to move on with movies in the park?
Yeah.
Lisa,
Oh.
I'm sorry, just a real quick question, and I apologize for my ignorance, but I was looking around and can Mike or somebody just give me 60 seconds on this particular Blue Zone project history with Walla Walla Valley? Who are the main sponsors and how did it start?
Yeah. Yeah, I could provide a little summary of that. So really it goes back about 3 years with the Blue Zones. At the time it used to be its own nonprofit, and Walla Walla University, Whitman College, the County Department of Health, and then the two cities essentially all chipped in to pay for like a visit by the nonprofit to see if we would qualify as a Blue Zone. And what they do is they come in and then they help establish like healthy community health practices and try to get grants for like improving essentially programs and things like that to all lend to it. That investigation report found that we very much mirror the Blue Zone ethos of healthy living. Not much happened after that visitation report because again, at that time, Blue Zones was like its own organization, and it would cost significant capital to essentially opt into that program. Well, fast forward, and last summer, that Blue Zone organization was acquired by Adventist Health. And then Adventist Health essentially covered the cost of this area to participate in the Blue Zone. So with that, the formal programming was established, and then Megan DeBolt moved over from the County Department of Health to be executive director of this initiative. So they have about 4 staff members underneath Megan, dealing with essentially policy, the built environment, public outreach, things of that sort. And over the next 3 years, they'll just basically be working on establishing that framework. And when the last 6 months, they've done this discovery report, which essentially will feed into that. And there's a steering committee that helps like provide advice and guidance to the Blue Zone. So I'm on the steering committee, as is Norman Field from Sunbridge. And then there's representation from David Lopez, who's on our diversity advisory board and is part of the outreach center at the university. And then there's others as well on the steering committee. But that provides a little synopsis as far as what it is, where it came from, and where it's going.
That's very helpful. Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Okay, so movies in the park this year, we've got our dates and our movies figured out. Because we do have to have a COVID plan written up, we're sticking with everything at one park, so we don't have to have multiple different plans developed and approved through the health department. So this is the lineup. They are on Saturday evenings. And we'll have more details to come. This is where we're at in the planning stages right now. So they'll be manned mainly by the police and fire departments.
Hey, Lisa, real quick, if y'all don't mind. Hey, how are we advertising that movie in the park? How's that getting out there?
I will have to look and see what Carolyn had going with that. I know it's going to be social media and on the radio ads, a lot like we do the farmers market,
Okay.
newsletter, that sort of thing.
Okay, alrighty. Yeah, no, I was just wondering. So
And then we also typically put it on our reader board in front of City Hall as well. And then it also goes in the utility newsletter that gets mailed out to all the ratepayers every month.
So was there a reason that you decided not to do the movies in the park on the Thursday night farmers markets? Because didn't last or a few years ago you do them on the same night as the farmers markets?
Yeah, we actually ended up having a conflict with the market ending and vendors leaving and driving through the park at the same time that families and children were coming to the park, and it just it caused enough of a danger that we decided to do it as a separate thing.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And one thing I'll notice in future years, the idea will be to move it to the various parks around the city. But since we have to have like a filed COVID plan, we're just keeping it there for this year. So we don't have to have 4 iterations of plans we all have to manage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Initially, when we separated it from the farmers market nights, was supposed to be last year, and we were initially going to have a movie night in each of the 4 parks, the main 4 parks throughout town, and so it was completely a separate deal from COVID, or from the farmers market, but because of COVID we didn't have it at all. So we're starting out with just all in Lions Park, but still doing that separate thing. And then hopefully next year we'll be able to have not such restrictive COVID plans and spread it out throughout town.
So are you planning on selling things at this, like refreshments of some kind, or having any type of food to offer?
I believe that we will be offering to have the food vendors there. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the movie people like that.
Yes, they do.
Oh, and Lisa, before we get off the topic of events, I don't know if you've looked into this far yet, but maybe if you could advise the commission on what we might be thinking of with Freedom Festival.
At this time, Freedom Festival is most likely a go. We have no details yet as to what our restrictions are going to be as far as number of people. So we've got a lot of logistics figuring out still to do with that. We have secured our band, so we've got Whiskey Creek
Good.
set aside for that. So we just don't know yet exactly the configuration we're going to have to be in, which will determine the number of vendors that we can have and the number of people that we're going to be able to have there. So hopefully things get, the more things ease up, the better it can be. Right now, we would be restricted to 400 people, which for Freedom Festival is a drastic cut from what we usually have. I mean, we usually have 4 times that. So
Mm-hmm.
we will see.
And what is the date on that again? I don't see that on my screen.
June 27th for Freedom Festival.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're having like a week ahead of the 4th because you all voted on that last year mainly because we didn't want to go head to head against City of Walla Walla and lose everyone. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. If there's no other questions on that, I will go to the next item, which is just to provide you a little bit of an update on COVID-19 and where everything is going on there. So the first thing I attach is a unified command report. I thought you may find those a little interesting. That just goes essentially over what everyone is doing. So number wise, we're starting to see a little bit of a tick up, but nothing as bad as like Whitman County, for example. So as long as we're under the 200 cases per 100,000 mark, then we won't regress, and we're at 40 per 200, so we're sitting pretty good. And then the vaccination sites, if you work as an essential worker or you're over 16 years of age with 2 comorbidities, you can now get your vaccinations over at the fairgrounds on April 15th. That's actually going to open up for everyone. So yeah, please sign up if you're eligible. The other thing I included was this economic recovery dashboard that the state has. So while we aren't the best performing county right now, we also aren't the worst either. So looking at it from last year to this year, there has been declining employment. However, the unemployment rate here in the county has declined. As you can see, the year-to-year employment change, we're at -2%, which I mean, we want to be positive, so that's not that great, but we also, at least we aren't as catastrophic as Whitman County at -14%, and then Kittitas up at Ellensburg, which is at -19%. So we're basically holding our own. The consumer behavior, our credit card spend is actually up 9%, going from last year and this year. So we're doing good there. Other things to let you know about as well is that the State Department of Commerce is releasing their next round of business grants. I sent an email out to all the businesses I had emails for. That's that Work in Washington grant. So you can apply for up to $25,000 per business, and they'll be open through April 9th. I do expect that the demand on that's going to be significant because the first couple days it was open, they received over 4,000 applications statewide. They do have benchmarks where they have to distribute the business grants equitably. So Walla County is guaranteed some, but it's just keep in mind that there is a demand. The other thing from earlier iterations of the business grants is, as you recall, last year some of them were distributed by the port. In this case, it's the State Department of Commerce where they're deciding who gets it. We try to fight against this because it takes the state a while to get out anything, but they insisted to go through Department of Commerce. So when it closes April 9th, if history tells us how long it will be to get the money out, it'll definitely be a while. So just be aware of that. A couple of other things, American Rescue Plan, that came out and that passed the federal government. So a couple of things, there's going to be some money flowing through the county level, dealing with covering some back utility payments, also rental. And then there'll also be some additional monies for small business assistance trickling in from the state government and then the port. Those have not really been announced yet formally, but it is coming. There will also be some money that is directed for broadband projects. And then for the first time since the start of this pandemic, the city is actually allocated to get some funding for gaps in revenue we've seen over the whole year. We've not gotten contracts for that though, but it is due to us. Also, the Small Business Administration, they have a shuttered venue grant. So anyone that essentially has venues where there were events or things, and then there was a decline from not having those events. You can get money through the Small Business Administration from the federal government. So that's just a little update on where we're at with everything. I mean, at least compared to some of our neighboring counties, we're holding our own with the data. So I don't believe we're under threat of regressing, but we just need to keep up like we've been following the guidelines and so forth. And then, yeah, also just reminding the businesses to put in for those grants. So some of the state money can find its way over here. So is there any questions?
Oh,
Okay. I will go to the next one then, which is the legislative update, just to provide a little review of everything. So key things are tax increment financing, which this board we've discussed about over the years. That's basically a way to encourage economic development by investing in infrastructure, betting on the increment of additional money you'll receive from newer developments. It looks like that's actually gonna pass for once. We've tried that for a number of years, and it looks like it's actually going to move through. Police department perspective wise, there's a lot of bills moving through having to do with like duty to intervene, which looks like it'll pass, and some other things, but some of the more catastrophic ones didn't move through. And then there's also a lot having to do with just COVID, and then a big transportation investment that they're trying to do. So with the transportation capital bill, we'll see where that goes. But the local projects that are in that one is the phase 8 for Highway 12. So that would finish up like making it 2 lanes each way all the way to Pasco. That's in there. And then there's some other key ones having to do like with Mill Creek, fixing up some of the maintenance issues in that. And then Highway 12 in Clinton. But overall, that is just some of the updates of what is going on over in Olympia.
That's some great info right there, Mike.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. Okay, if there's no questions, I'll move on to last item, the development tracker. And then Chris, just so you know, the development tracker, to see it, you have to log in to the board docs, and then you'll be able, with your username, password, and then you'll be able to see it. I'll just go over everything briefly. So I try to update this commission on where we're moving at with certain projects. Ones that are publicly known, I can actually say the name of, but there's a lot of tire kickers. So in that case, I have to either name it a random name or an abbreviation. But some of the abbreviations, you can figure out what they mean pretty much. So I'll just leave it there. So going over the spreadsheet. So Project CK, which is a gas station, they're looking at going near 12th and Myra. They're still doing due diligence. There's been no change there. Project HM, which is a coffee shop. They demoed the old car wash at 9th and College, but there's been no update on that either. Project FM, which is more of like a big box type store. They're waiting for the sewer to be completed, so they want to go across the street from the high school. And what the city is doing is we've gotten a variety of grants and low interest loans to build a sewer trunk line to serve that area, and it's being built right now. So from what we've been told, as soon as that trunk line is built, they'll commit to it. So we're meeting all their targets, so that's a good thing. Project BK, I can say what that is now because they've given the go ahead. That's going to go next to Aspen Dental, and that's a Burger King. So that is going over in the Meadowbrook area, but across the highway by the dental office. Project W, which is another fast food site, that's just on hold for now. Project D, which is a dining restaurant over by Commercial. They're just waiting essentially until that left turn lane gets put in on Myra, and that'll essentially occur when City of Walla Walla deals with the Myra Road 125 intersection, which they're currently trying to get a lot of federal and state funding to turn that into a roundabout, which at that time we basically have an agreement with them that for our support, if that goes to a roundabout at 125 and Myra, then as part of that, the left turn lane will be put in for Commercial Drive. And then Project Flight, that's out at Martin Airfield. We are working with them on that. There's a lot of tire kickers out there. The main thing over there is at Tarragon, which is the real estate company owned by Mike Corliss. They are proposing a light industrial airport zoning overlay to the county, and then there'll be a further one that goes to the city. And basically what that'll allow is uses conducive with an airport. So some light industrial type warehousing, some residential. It's basically guided by a master plan. And right now, Tarragon and Mike Corliss are working on that master plan for that field. So they are planning to do something out there. So we are working with them to try to bring that to fruition. So that's the commercial side. And then Goodwill. They are also turning their final documentation, and that's going to go over at C Street and Myra Road, the field right behind Valvoline and Banner Bank. They are going to break ground, and you'll see that sprout this spring and summer. Going to a residential side, there's still a number of things going on. Homestead, they're at their second and final phase. And Julia up on top of the hill. So the water connections are being put in and the homes are being built. The last phase is going to be behind that detention pond over on Dones, where they want to put some wise size, some affordable housing along that area. So that's what you'll see over there. Villages of Fort Walla Walla, which is over on Whitman Drive behind Home Depot. That was the apartment complex. There are some legal issues going back and forth between the developer and the previous landowner. I think it'll get solved, but that's why there's a delay in that at the moment. But that developer still owns the back western third of that property. Stepper Edition, which is about a couple of homes down Maple Street off of C Street. Homes are continuing to be built on Micaiah Court. So that is going. Country Estates, which is our manufactured home park off of Scenic View, where the former Poor Farmhouse is at. They are looking at putting about 7 additional units of manufactured housing out there. We're just working with them with the site plan process because there's a creek that runs through that vacant part of the property, and that triggers a lot of regulations on the state level for crossing it. Sermon Development, which is a 60-unit apartment complex that wants to go over on Spitzenberg across from Wenzel Nursery. We're just working with them on their final engineering drawings, and we expect that should be a go. The Miri development, some of the lots on 12th Street have been sold to other users, and then they're continuing to work on various concepts out there. And then the Stone Creek development is the 260 acres southwest of Majanier. and College Avenue. Right now, we're building the sewer out there that'll serve that as well as all of South College Place. Right now, Mr. Christensen's working on subdividing his property, going through a short plat process, because right now there isn't a developer who will take on all 260 acres. They'll take on pieces of it. So we're working with Craig to essentially divvy up his property so that way it positions it better to essentially sell it to various developers. Other things, Hamby project up on top of the hill at College and Sunny. Construction continues on the additional apartment complex to the rear of it. And then Project Wallula, which is some cottage housing that's being examined for developmentally disabled. That developer is looking at potentially putting it adjacent to Sunset Villa, but that would require a UGA amendment, which the county commissioners can only do. So we're waiting to see that. And then Whispering Creek is the cul-de-sac that was constructed off of Southeast 8th Street near Lions Park. And there's a couple of homes that are being built there, but they're getting sold in a very timely manner, and all the infrastructure has been put in. So those homes will be, it'll be fully built out relatively soon. So with that, that's an update on what everything is going on commercially and residentially. Is there any questions?
No questions, anyone?
Nope.
All right, Mike, Lisa, thank you so much for all that info. You guys do a fantastic job. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I'd like to thank everybody for attending this evening, and welcome to the commission. Chris, I didn't catch your last name, but I'll get it.
It's Murray.
Murray. Okay, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Writing. So if that's all you have, Mike, we can set a date for next month.
Yep.
Lisa?
Yeah, next month it'll be Monday, May 3rd.
May 3rd.
May 3rd. Awesome. Okay. Well, at this time, we can adjourn this meeting. Lisa. Kelly, do you want to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Sure, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting tonight.
All second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, you guys, we'll see you next month. Thanks again. Go Zags.
All right.